Hello guys. Battlefield 2042 is definitely seeing a noticeable downturn in player retention. A lot of players are bored or frustrated with how the game plays. For me, I'm lucky that I have a powerful PC that can run the game well and I can enjoy the game more than others. However, even I am struggling to find ways to enjoy the game with the lack of content and reasons to keep playing. If only there was some sort of mode with an enjoyable gameplay loop and progression that could keep me going. The biggest disappointment with this game for me was the Hazard Zone game mode. With the popularity exploding for extraction-based games like Escape from Tarkov and Hunt Showdown, I was hoping that Hazard Zone would be an accessible and arcadey version of these games that would keep me engaged with Battlefield 2042 long after I got bored of the multiplayer. And I could not have been more wrong. I actually voiced my concerns for this exact issue early on in my beta feedback video, and it basically all came true. The implementation of Hazard Zone was worse than my lowest expectations. Hazard Zone is unbelievably shallow. You spawn in, grab some drives, get attacked by AI, potentially die to players after being distracted by AI, get in a vehicle, and then extract. And that's it. There's no progression, there's no economy, there's no intensity. If you die, sure, you lose a bit of cash and maybe some nice guns if you bought any. But if you manage to extract successfully with a decent amount of drives, you now have enough currency to guarantee the best loadout you can buy for 5 more runs. The economy makes no sense, as you barely have to worry about affording weapons after your first successful extraction. There are no quests or missions to complete to keep you engaged. I at least thought there was going to be unique character and weapon skins for surviving a certain amount of time or runs. There's nothing. It's very clear that players are not vibing with this mode. Even in the EU, the most popular location for servers, as I was testing for this video, I'd often wait more than 2 minutes, and in other regions, it's apparently near impossible to get a match at all. It's such a shame that so much development and hype went into this mode that will probably fade out of existence. So I thought to myself, is there a way to fix this? Here are my suggestions for how to turn the Hazard Zone mode into something more engaging and interesting without deleting the game and basically starting again. I have tried to minimize developer time and only use assets and features that already exist in the base game in the hopes that some of this actually has a chance to be implemented. The basic concept for this new mode is that teams are smaller, players have more health, AI are less intrusive, drives are limited, there are more extractions available, and an economy is created by increasing the value of guns. And the game desperately needs some sort of progression and quests. So, what is the best part about extraction shooters? The looting. And in Battlefield 2042, there is none of that. There is no real inventory system, and the only item you can actually loot is data drives. So how can you have an economy in the game if there's no real looting? Well, what if the guns are the primary loot alongside the drives? You take cheap, free guns into the Hazard Zone and try and find better ones from other players or AI. That way, there's no need to build looting or in-game inventory mechanics, and we can use the gun switch method easily. Although being able to carry more than one primary would be nice. Guns would be put into 3 tiers with 3 price points. The better the tier, the higher the price. Extract with drives and better weapons than you started with, and you gain currency that way. As for the basics of the mode, I would limit it to duos to start with. This would solve some matchmaking issues and mean fights happen more often with more teams per map. I would prefer not to include specialists and have generic characters, but I doubt that would happen, but their abilities would have to be limited to improve the flow of the game. This is how it would play out. You pick duos instead of the regular squad's Hazard Zone mode. Hopefully they could coexist whilst gauging interest. You matchmake and find a match, and then you pick your loadout like a normal Hazard Zone game. If you've extracted guns from previous matches, hopefully they would appear here. If not, guns have their prices massively inflated from the standard mode. Players actually have to take risks when they use powerful guns. Players should also have access to free preset loadouts like the Factory M5 that give you no benefits on extract. These guns would have no extended magazines, no suppressors, literally just a basic gun to get you started. If you pay for a low, medium or high tier loadout, these give you access to all the attachments that you have unlocked and can be reused if you successfully extract with them. There should also be free and paid secondaries and gadgets. However, when extracted, you won't gain them again in your next loadout, but they will give you an advantage for that run. Even better, making players pay to use their specialist abilities in order to use them would be a great idea. Or even prepaying for vehicles on spawn to give you a head start. If this isn't possible, I would prefer that specialists cannot use abilities. Otherwise, characters like Sundance would definitely ruin the flow of the game. You then pick your loadout and enter the Hazard Zone map. Around 12 duo teams spawn around the map like normal, so potentially 24 players. As long as they are far enough apart on each map that they couldn't see each other on spawn, this number could be increased. 15-minute timer for final extraction. No vehicles are allowed to be called in until the final 5 minutes unless players paid for them in the loadout screen. The AI with mid-tier and high-tier guns will be marked on the map inside buildings. AI should always be inside buildings and should only engage players that enter those zones. That way PvP is more satisfying as AI will interfere less. The high tier loot needs to be more centralized to make sure players can reach it in roughly the same time. Players can attack these groups of AI who will drop their one mid or high tier gun per group, and the rest will carry low tier weapons. If able to carry 2 primaries, players can pick up the second weapon. However, if you're going to carry 1 primary, then players will have to drop their current loadout to exchange. After 5 minutes, 3 to 5 satellites containing a single drive will drop onto the map. Drives should be much more rare than they are currently and give you more rewards for extracting them. At the same time, 2 additional extracts will become available. These will hang around for 5 minutes, but as soon as a player is near them for 30 seconds, they will leave. Players now have to choose between extracting early with what they've got or hanging around to grab the drives for additional currency. Another 2 extractions will replace them in different areas at 10 minutes, and these will stick around again until players are near them for 30 seconds and disappear. At 10 minutes, players are now able to call in vehicles to help aid them to extraction. Ideally, only ATVs should be allowed, but the standard Jeep would be fine too, and obviously the vehicles wouldn't have weapons because that was annoying. Finally, at 12 minutes, the final extract will appear, like normal Hazard Zone, and this will leave at exactly 15 minutes. Any players left on the map will fight it out to extract at this final exit. Extract your weapons and drives and kills for more currency. I think 5 potential extractions for 12 teams means just under half of the teams have an opportunity to extract, but again, this can be dialed up and down depending on how the flow of the game feels. The guns that you extracted from the game are now placed in the buy screen for any upcoming missions. Instead of having to buy that gun next time, I can use it again. As for the progression, there needs to be some sort of quests or missions that players can complete to advance their Hazard Zone characters and get unique rewards. So the first level would be really basic quests. After completing these quests, you gain rewards, better guns, character customizations, maybe currency. Then you unlock the next level. The next level would be slightly harder. Quests and progression is one of the fundamentals in a game like this to keep people playing. As far as I'm aware, all the assets required to implement at least the gameplay portion of this version of Hazard Zone should already exist. If it were possible, maybe this could be tested on just 2 or 3 maps to start to gauge interest from the player base. My 3 picks for maps would be Renewal, Manifest, and Orbital. If this was then to be developed further into a greater experience, guns spawning on the ground without AI, followed by other lootable items that held value that could be exchanged for currency on extraction, potentially players being able to carry more than 1 primary weapon and additional items in their inventory slots, a leaderboard to show the players with the most currency extracted, and then maybe a monthly currency and gun wipe to stop players stockpiling unlimited resources. Let me know what you think about my concepts in the comments. Would you enjoy this? Is it too complicated? Would it be too difficult? What would you want to add to the mode? I don't expect anything to come of this, and this isn't a demand of any kind to get something done. I don't even know if they are planning on expanding Hazard Zone at all. The concepts in this plan are just a suggestion on how you could do it. The devs should definitely be focusing on the core experience of the game first and foremost, and I wouldn't expect them to divert resources to this. Hazard Zone would probably also benefit from being re-released as a free-to-play portion of the game. The craziest part of Battlefield 2042 is that the anti-cheat actually works. I haven't seen a single cheater in 250 hours, so maybe free-to-play wouldn't be the end of the world. I just wanted to see if my ideas for this was something that people wanted, Either way, I really hope that somebody brings out an accessible, arcadey, modern combat extraction shooter that can compete with Escape from Tarkov without having to have a university degree to play it. But anyway, give it a like if you like my ideas, or dislike if you don't. Let me know what you would change. I hope you enjoyed my crazed ramblings either way, and I'll catch you in the next one.